Welcome to this Sunday service with the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Reverend Jacqueline Brett, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, gender, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, welcome. If you're new to this community, and especially if you're visiting with us today, I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat box. You'll also find a link there that will help you to find out more about us. We invite everyone to join us for a virtual coffee hour after this service. Information on how to participate will appear on your screen at the end of the service. At this time, all of our services and programs are online. Our campus remains closed as we do our part to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. But we always have a lot going on here. So do consult our weekly e-news and our web calendar at ERUUF, ERUUF.org to find out more. I especially want to bring your attention to next week's Sunday service, which will be led by the Reverend Mary Catherine Mourn, CEO and President of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, our UU Global Human Rights Organization that is engaged in social justice work around the world. Reverend Mourn and two of her colleagues from UUSC will also be at next week's coffee hours so that you can meet them and they can answer your questions. We hope you'll join us. This morning's service focuses on the UUA's annual General Assembly and features reflections by four of our very own GA delegates, Michael Field, Sally Franz, David Huber, and Lisa Jones. Sean Trimble and Jenny Jolly are the tech team for today's service. Kate Lewis is on piano, and we're also featuring music from the General Assembly Virtual Choir. If you want to sing along and don't see the words on the screen, please look for them in the chat box. So, now let's take a breath. And center ourselves. And continue with the prelude offered here by Kate Lewis.
This morning's opening words and chalice lighting are by Deborah Falk, who says, "A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundations of freedom, reason, and welcome, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that envisions a world flourishing with equality for all people, a faith that demands a living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness."
This tiny flame is a symbol of the spark of all this within each of us. Our opening song is We Are, written by Isaye Barnwell and featuring the GA Virtual Choir, directed by Benji Messer, with Dr. Barnwell as soloist.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Wow. Each June, thousands of Unitarian Universalists from all over the United States and internationally gather for our association's annual General Assembly, the largest gathering of UUs anywhere in the world. Congregations that participate in GA select delegates as representatives who engage in setting policy for the association through the democratic process. And while at times this process can seem quite tedious and grueling, a GA delegate vote can give you a new appreciation for democracy when it is actually practiced with integrity and fairness. As with many things in our world today, this year's GA was an entirely virtual event. ERUUF's attendees participated in workshops and worship services, listened to panel discussions and presentations. Our delegates voted on actions of immediate witness, amended UUA bylaws, and passed business resolutions. There's no better place than GA to find out who we are as UU people beyond the walls of our individual congregations. GA can bring forward a well of emotions. It can be awesome, inspiring, frustrating, surprising, and sobering, all at the same time. I highly recommend it if ever you have an opportunity to attend. And so this morning, we will hear from 4 of our GA delegates. They will spend less time reporting on business resolutions and the like, and will instead share with you their impressions of GA and how it impacted them personally. Lisa Jones will lead off by describing her impressions of her very first GA. Sally Franz, a GA veteran, will share what it meant for her to encounter some new ideas. Michael Field, who also attended for the first time, will share his realizations that Unitarian Universalism really is its people. And Michael Huber, another GA veteran, will close out with work he sees we still need to do. So let us begin.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Jones. This year was my first time attending General Assembly. It was just over a year ago when I found out that the first UU principle is the belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So I knew I'd found my truth. With that fairly new discovery growing inside me and the desire to learn even more, I was overwhelmed with gratitude when I was not only chosen to attend GA, but to hold a position as delegate. As the assembly got started, my first impression was wow. And I was immediately overwhelmed. I had no idea there were 1,100 UU congregations and would therefore be thousands of participants. To make things even more complex, the entire venue was totally online for the first time. I waded through a forest of links to locate classes I'd signed up for, unsure if they were listed under events, workshops, or meetups. All the while I was worried I'd scheduled one during a General Assembly debate and vote session, which I needed to attend as a delegate. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining because I can't wait to go again. It's just that next time I know I might need to implement my middle-aged sticky note process of tracking important information. As a person of color, it's easy to focus on the parts of UU that don't feel like they exactly reflect who I am. For example, the majority of the participants simply didn't look like me. And the ones that did often didn't sound like me. As a, shall we say, cerebral bunch, there were times I was left wondering about the importance of a debate over punctuation placement at a time I see our democracy holding on by a thumbnail. But alas, I was reminded that the need for tolerance can present in many forms. And although there were some challenges, they were quickly overshadowed by experiences that left me spiritually and personally satisfied. The opening ceremony was an auditory and visual treat that paid tribute to the indigenous people of our country. There were several impassioned speakers, such as the Reverend Dr. Kiyama Raman, who discussed the presence of Black women in Unitarian Universalism. The session was particularly amazing because I had no idea that we had such a long and interwoven presence within the religion. It left me with a new sense of belonging and desire to further solidify our presence and contributions to the faith. Black Lives UU, or Blue, was a wonderful safe space, and I learned of an upcoming project called Haven and Harbors, had special meals, and enjoyed a worship service with the group. I attended a Vesper service and conversation with the elders, presented by the diverse and revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, or DRUM. I went to a session on hospitality, reparations, and how it connects to the first principle, and also saw what I must admit was a pretty good drag show. I attended general sessions on business, and the debate and vote gatherings provided a national or big picture view of the Unitarian Universalist Association and its connection to our congregations. The experience enabled me to formulate a complete picture of where we are and also where we hope to be. Out of everything, one of the best things I learned is that ERUUF is an important model for how to do anti-racism work within our system of beliefs. I'm not saying we're perfect or that we have it all figured out, but the work we're doing shows. Despite having a ways to go, I found that outside this bubble, we are recognized and respected. We are known to be committed to setting an example and trying to live the first principle as we diversify our congregation. As an African-American lesbian who doesn't see religion in a way that could be remotely described as traditional, I left the assembly inspired and thankful. Especially thankful for each of you and that the universe led me your way. Together, I know we'll continue to grow.
Good morning. My name's Sally Franz, and this was my 5th GA. I'm kind of a General Assembly junkie. But whether it's 1st or 5th, the first thing, the task of any GA is to figure out the schedule. As a delegate, I scheduled business meetings first, then chose which workshops to attend. There were 12 morning and 4 afternoon workshops to choose from, 1 from each slot. That in itself was a challenge. I was drawn to indigenous issues, reparations, and racism. New ideas and concepts came pouring at me from the start of GA. First at the welcoming celebration, and then from most, if not all, the workshops I attended. The first workshop I selected was called Colonialism's Impact on Palestinians and Indigenous North Americans. It was fascinating to hear the parallels between Palestinian and indigenous issues, and they were there. Another was settler colonialism and a history of erasure and exclusion. Without going into the contents of the workshops, I'll just say that the titles, even the titles of those workshops, stretched my mind. And indeed, each one provided different frameworks, perspectives, and concepts on issues I knew little about, as well as on issues that I thought I knew something about. There were half a dozen workshops on indigenous issues, most led by indigenous people. So that was really impressive to me. There were both parallel and different perspectives drawn between current cultural ecological problems and indigenous knowledge. For example, one workshop was titled Indigenous Knowledge in a Time of Pandemics. In the workshop titled Reparations Rooted in Repair, the speaker mentioned the doctrine of discovery. That was a new concept to me, and I knew I had to find out more about it to fully appreciate the workshop. That evening, I discovered the doctrine of discovery was a 15th century papal decree. A translation I found in Wikipedia stated that explorers were instructed to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever and other enemies of Christ, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery. Whew, that was heavy. But it clarified for me why explorers, settlers, and everyone in between believed they were called to convert, enslave, or kill non-Christians. You would think I would want a little fun after that, and so would attend UU Fun Night. But by 10 o'clock Friday night, after sitting through approximately 6 hours of Zooming with breaks for meals and dog walks, there was no way I could join the young folks at a virtual fun night. By the time Sunday morning rolled around and we had all had the opportunity to see and hear the final GA worship service, I was a comfortable mixture of stirred up and exhausted. Whether in person or virtual, General Assembly is an amazing experience.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near.
That was Gathered Here, performed by Lelena Romero, Michael Slack, and Jocelyn Neal. I invite you to join me for this morning's prayer. Spirit that holds us with tenderness, patience, and love, may we see the world around us with new eyes, a new noticing, with open hearts that lead us down open pathways of joy and love, compassion and support, authentically experienced and embodied. As the beauty of this August morning comes to us in the glory of bird song and rain that nourishes us and our earth home, so our hearts are thankful. We bring forward the spoken and unspoken joys of our community on this Sunday morning, and we bring forward our concerns. Doug Holcomb, who has suffered a second brain injury, we ask for prayers for healing and patience. Nellie Galindo, who is welcoming her second baby due on November 7th, 2020. She would appreciate well wishes for safe delivery and hospital stay. Mary Lacombe, who is home recovering from major back surgery for at least the next 3 months. Marcia Wells Argo, mother of Daryl McGuire and mother-in-law of Mike McGuire, who passed peacefully Wednesday evening in Hillsborough at age 98. Rose Almond's sister, Beth Jennings, who died on Friday, August 14th, finally resting after demonstrating remarkable resilience during her many years of declining health. And we pray also for our democracy and for the sound and just leadership our country and countries the world over so greatly needs. May the actions of those in positions of power and leadership be guided to the highest good of all. And may we not lose heart, faith, or hope. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Good morning. I'm Michael Field, and the title of my reflection this morning is Unitarian Universalism is its people. Going to General Assembly, or GA, has been on my bucket list for a number of years, yet except for going to a Sunday service the year that GA was held in Boston, I had not been until this year. Lenora and I went to Boston primarily because our daughter was singing in the youth choir. There, though, we got the megachurch experience, with what seemed like 10,000 UUs all in Haynes Auditorium. I will admit that my interest in GA over the years has varied based on the city where it's being held. This year, our plan was to make Providence the first stop on a 5-week road trip. Then the world, including GA, went virtual. Most of us logging on for the first time didn't know what to expect. We soon discovered that GA has been hosting remote attendees for over 10 years. This year was only unique in that everyone was virtual. It was Zoom on steroids. And yes, Zoom fatigue is a real thing. I want to focus this morning on my two main takeaways: the rewriting of the UUA bylaws and what the GA process illuminates about Unitarian Universalism. When I was facilitating the UU elevator speech classes last fall here at ERUUF, we addressed the misperception that UUism is a religion where anything goes. In the classes, we each tried to synthesize in our own words what Unitarian Universalism resonated for us. General Assembly is where, over the years, hundreds of thousands of those individual resonances have come together to establish what we are. We are not a covenantal religion. Rather, those resonances which reinforce each other define us. When Unitarian Universalism was created by the merger of our two foundation traditions, bylaws were drawn up which codified our common beliefs. Article 2 of those bylaws codifies our agreement upon the 7 principles and the 6 sources, as well as statements on our purposes, non-discrimination, and freedom of belief. Because we are a living tradition, that codification is regularly reviewed and updated. I was struck at GA that what other religions would consider doctrine, such as our 7 principles, are part of that codification that gets reviewed. Imagine a religion where it's not what some ancient decreed it should be. Rather, it is what all of us, coming together in our covenanted communities, say it should be. That is what UUism is. We, collectively, with General Assembly as a crucial tool, will review, amend, and re-ratify Article 2 to reflect this, our current generation of Unitarian Universalism. My second takeaway is what this General Assembly says about Unitarian Universalism. One, we are not perfect, and GA certainly reflected that lack of perfection. The first thing that struck me was that the youth group and the multicultural group were boycotting GA. I expect that there were many reasons for these actions. The reason that surfaced was because the musical talent was not being paid. In a year when all performers are financially impacted by the closing of performance venues, this issue had increased implications. I expected there to be further references to the reasons for the boycott, at least in the discussion sessions, but I saw none, though to be fair, I did not seek it out. Most importantly, I realized there that the Unitarian Universalism is not a religion that people join. UUism is its people. It is the bottom-up aggregation of the spirituality of millions, our generation merging our truths with those that came before us. Thousands of us were at GA expressing ourselves in chat rooms, breakout sessions, as well as the formal discussion and voting sessions. There was a certain Zoom equality as each person's square was as visible as the next. We are all colors. We are non-binary rainbows of diversity of all sorts. Learning that truth, that Unitarian Universalism is its people, was the best thing that has happened to me this year.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Huber, and I'm very honored to be here with you this morning. So this was my third GA, and it was a notable one. It was the first ever all-online GA, which also made it the first all-pants optional GA, and it was the first GA that I've experienced that centered the experiences, voices, and history of Indigenous people in North America. A large amount of programming focused on anti-colonialism, anti-racism, and anti-oppression themes, including having anti-racist conversations, settler colonialism and a history of erasure and exclusion, dismantling ableism, and much more. I'm grateful for the courageousness and determination of our elected leaders at the UUA, exposing GA attendees to content that confronts white supremacy and a culture of exclusion, inviting us all in to dismantle it. To me, this is how we face our shared history, accept our shared reality, and heal as we work to manifest a different shared future together. I believe that this is critical if we are to live into the calling of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. I will admit that at times I was quite uncomfortable, examining my own settler mentality and how that still shows up in my thoughts, my body, my emotions, and my behaviors, exposed a growing edge in my own work of healing from my internalized white supremacy. I believe that this is work I've got to do if I am to enter into a whole and reconciled relationship with myself, with others, and with the interconnected web of existence, even though it brings up uncertainty, fear, and temporary, chaotic feelings of disruption. I believe that this is part of healing, so this is the path I choose. When ERUUF delegates debriefed after GA, I learned that some of us had witnessed behavior heard language, and had interactions that illustrated a general lack of experience, skill, and knowledge among white GA attendees when it came to engaging about race. I am sorry to say that I experienced this as well. Despite the content and programming of GA, there appears to be a profound and persistent gap between where we could be as a body of people and where we are. Until that gap is closed, our collective and individual ability to live out the principles that bring us and bind us together will remain aspirational. As a nation and as a denomination, we are wrestling with a lot, confronting our history, the environment that history has created, looking at how living in that environment has made us who we are, and trying to figure out what we can do about that. Many of us are leaning into the deep healing that this work can bring, along with the uncertainty and fear that comes from facing the unfamiliar, as well as those temporary, chaotic feelings of disruption. Many others continue holding on to what is known because it is familiar, even if it hurts. The conflict that this creates is hard to sit with. Whether we open to it or not, the unfamiliar is there to be faced. As UUs, what are we called to do? What path will you choose?
Wow. 4 different perspectives, different experiences of GA. And so now we take up this morning's offering. All of our ministry, as you know, is online right now, and your support, your financial support is needed and appreciated. Whether you give right now using the link you'll find in the chat box, through the website, auto draft, or by sending a check through the mail. And as the effects of the pandemic begin to hit some of us hard, please be reminded that the Minister's Discretionary Fund is available. This is money that our members have given in order to help each other in times of need. Please contact one of the ministers if you think you might be able to help. And so our music for the offertory is Tomorrow by Kate and Justin Miner, performed once again by the GA Virtual Choir.
There will be better days. 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 Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. I am there will be better days. 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 Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. I am there will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days.
We give thanks for the blessings of this community, for the gifts of this community. Today's closing words are from the Reverend Barbara Merritt, who says, Unitarian Universalists have said for centuries that there is room in our religion for all seekers, skeptics and poets and scientists, nonconformists and shy and uncertain folk. We believe that restlessness and doubts are a sign of grace, that the love of truth is the holiest of gifts. Go in peace, my friends. Go in love, and may your life be a blessing.